Hey guys, Chris Field here. Today we're going to talk about SDG 8 in regards to Norway. So, what is SDG 8? It is specifically decent work and economic growth. Roughly half the world's population still lives on the equivalent of about $2 per day. In a lot of places, having a job doesn't guarantee the ability to escape from poverty. That's even so in America. This slow and uneven progress requires us to rethink and retool our economic and social policies aimed at eradicating poverty. So, parts of that would be create decent jobs for all and improve our living standards. Even before COVID 19, 1 in 5 countries were to experience a serious decline to their GDP by the year 2020, which of course did happen because of COVID 19. So this graphic here, this is showing us the annual growth of GDP per capita from the years 1961 to 2020. I have a comparison here of Norway and the United States. You can see they're not even very similar. Norway has had a much more normal line here. You can see United States, we are all over the place there. We are down, we are up, we are down, we're up. Look at both there at the end of this graph, which is 2020. Everything just tanks, even Norway. So the GDP is the gross domestic product. It is a monetary measure of the market value, or the market value of all the final goods and services produced and sold in a specific time period by a country or countries. So that's generally without double counting the intermediate goods and services used to produce those. Another graph here comparatively to the last one we just looked at here. This one demonstrates the overall material usage per unit of GDP. You can see, despite our GDP usually being higher than Norway, the United States, we use a lot less material to gain that higher GDP. So Norway consistently uses a lot more. It's an interesting thing to measure whatsoever, in my personal opinion. So unemployment rates, this is 91 to 2021. Akun's law has stated that, very simply, when unemployment falls by 1%, GDP will rise by 3%. GNP. Another version of this focuses on the inverse relationship of that. So that is as unemployment falls, GDP rises, or the inverse of the last one here. So I included some other countries here just for comparison. We can get some outside knowledge. I think some of the largest GDP countries here, you see France is up top, Canada, us here in the United States, Norway, Germany. This one actually goes out through 2021. You can see everything there in 2020. Unemployment skyrockets. And if we were to look at that last graph, you could see how GDP had fallen. And we're actually going to take a look at that here on this slide. Those are the two graphs that we've looked at so far. You can see GDP on the left-hand side just tank in there in 2021. On that right-hand side, 2020 will be just to the left of the end of the graph there. You can see the comparison to side by side there, how unemployment just skyrockets as the economies just collapse there in 2020. So where's the easy answer here for SDG 8? How do we fix a lot of these things that are dealing with economic unemployment, overall job markets? Unfortunately, there is no easy answer. This isn't an environmental concern where we can simply just stop doing something and see a quick response. I say that specifically because when COVID-19 hit and all of our major cities shut down, there's a pretty dramatic response from nature. Living in Charlotte, not having all the cars driving around, there was more wildlife. It seemed like everything was greener. Maybe it's just because we saw it less. Our economies are technically, they're fictional entities. Everything's worked together because of rules that we personally as humans have set in place. It is literally a construct that we have put together. SDG 8 was originally set in place to be achieved by 2030, and there's lots of goals over there that are just not going to be met. A couple of them, working wages. We need to allow wages to rise with the cost of living, or else establish new means of value so the dollar can go further. We need to work on equality here, specifically how men and women compete for work openly. We all have value. We can all bring unique things to industries. And rapid growth can actually be a problem. Catching up is one thing, setting an equal place at the table for a struggling country. Unchecked growth can lead to a recession. think about the current state of the U.S. Treasury, how much money we printed, and our next impending crash of real estate. If you look at mortgage loans right now, and they are in the hole, and rates are super high. This is just a quick mind map here. This is demonstrating the points that I made here between unemployment, the quality of the workplace, the GDP, some GDP things here like tourism and economic growth. One of the biggest things that Norway is personally working on is bringing in a larger tourist group. Tourism has been a large driving factor in their economy.